Hey guys, it's Nick Zavala, brand president of American Home Contractors here on the AHC podcast. We have our very own Josh Sparks, CEO of Infinity Home Services, on here today with us.
Happy to be here, brother.
Thank you. Thanks for hopping on. Thanks for coming by. It's always great to have you in the house.
It's been a while. It's been a year since I've been here.
Yeah.
Maybe 8 months, something like that.
We did a little remodel.
Yes, it looks great. You've added on to the facilities here. You made Bree an office back there. It's looking good.
I know, it's great. It's like I don't know if it's an office or a closet, but we did the best we could.
Hey, it's got a computer. It works. This, I would have to say, the studio here is pretty cool. I think maybe about tied with Watkins from a studio perspective. So, but both of them are top notch, I would say.
You hear that, Michael?
Yeah, exactly.
Hopefully,
he's got shingles on the wall. We should have some Tesla solar panels on the wall.
You know, in process. With the framing in here, the commercial framing is questionable. So, got to figure that out. How we're going to mount everything. But you saw we've got the V0, V2.
Yeah.
Some of those tiles, so we'll put some history in here.
That'd be awesome.
We actually have a red power wall we're going to put back here, I think next week, sitting in the warehouse to kind of match the theme. So
fancy it up, yeah.
Yeah, well, today, we wanted to ask you a couple questions. We've got a few to go through here with you.
So you have a long list of questions there.
Long list of questions, but the people wanted to hear, you know, when you're in the house, we gotta get you in here, spread some wisdom, some leadership, some guidance, have an awesome conversation, and go from there. But yeah, we do appreciate you stepping in.
Of course.
But why don't we start with the basics? You know, I don't think everybody's heard your story. A bunch of people have, but why don't you tell us a little bit about, your background, your story? How did you, get into roofing, and what led you to where you're at today?
Boy, it's a long story. I've told the story, I think, quite a few times. So I don't want to bore the audience here, but I guess I can go back, maybe to, let's see here. How far back should I go, Nick?
Let's go
back to the roofing career. You want to go back to California? Like, how far back do you want me to go?
Let's do the 1 minute version. California to here. Go.
All right. I grew up in the Bay Area, California, to a single mother addicted to heroin. She went to prison when I was 9. I lived in foster care for a while, went to 17 different schools, got a job at McDonald's when I was 14, got offered a job when I was 17 for $9 whole an hour, roofing, tearing off, and got that job when I was 17, handed out some flyers, and I realized the company I was working for was kind of unscrupulous. Sold my first job, incorporated Infinity Exteriors in 1997 when I was 18 years old. Went off to the Marine Corps, and I've been building the business ever since. And so that's my background.
That's
awesome. I think I got that in a minute.
Yeah, that was that a minute,
less than a minute?
I think it was about a minute. No,
yeah.
that was perfect. Like,
yeah.
What a story. What a background. I'm sure we could talk about all that for hours, but
yeah,
I'll dive into a few points that I think are important for the viewership here to know. But what made you transition from that Marine background to becoming the leader, the CEO you are today, and through roofing and
yeah. I found myself incredibly fortunate. I stumbled upon a business that had an incredibly low barrier to entry. Right. Sure. It was really easy to start a roofing company. I mean, the licensing at the time, I guess it was $150, $175 to apply for your home improvement license. You didn't have to take any tests. It was pretty de minimis. And it was a business you could make a good money in if you took care of your customers. It's a business that was just packed full of unscrupulous contractors, and the level of professionalism and trust in the industry was just at an all-time, it's just terrible. And so literally all you had to do was show up to a homeowner's house, provide a quote, and you're going to get hired. When I first started in 97, I can't tell you how many homeowners I'd go to that said, I've called 5, 6, 7 contractors and nobody's showing up. You're the first person to show up.
Yeah. So you're like an order taker.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what it was.
There first.
That's exactly what it was. I was an order taker. And so I started selling some jobs. I was a competitive power lifter, and so I was like competing and lifting, and I was kind of enjoyed the physical fitness side of the world. And that's why I ended up joining the Marine Corps as a reservist in '99. And so I was doing I was doing jobs here and there. I was making some money. I was paying my rent in '97, '98, and in '99 I joined the Marine Corps. And the Marine Corps really instilled discipline, honor, courage, commitment. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, like, man, I really want to make something of myself. Like, I want to get past my childhood. I want to prove to the world and people around me that I'm not a byproduct of that California,
Sure.
drug lifestyle, and that really instilled that kind of intestinal fortitude in me. And so I decided to try to make a real business of it. And so I picked up the Yellow Pages and I called every contractor in it, and I looked for subcontractor jobs. So it was just me and my buddies, and we subcontracted for probably 4 or 5 years, just subbing, making decent money while I was having fun racing motorcycles and lifting weights. So,
That's awesome.
yeah, that was it.
Well, if you can't tell, you got to be watching this. He is disciplined. And just curious for everybody on the pod, you know, how does discipline play into your success, like your daily routine? Like, can you give a quick rundown of like what do you do that helps you find that success?
Yeah, everything. I mean, discipline is what gets you is equal success, in my opinion. There's nothing else aside from it. It's Marine Corps really instills discipline. So when I was there, I understood that it wasn't just about me. It was about team. It was about working, getting up every day, working hard, and sacrificing for your future self. So oftentimes we're told to sacrifice for other people, family, friends, community, and whatnot, and people leave out themselves. So they don't sacrifice their future selves. And so when I was 19, 20 years old, I started thinking of myself when I was 40 or 45 or 50, and what kind of person that like I wanted to be when I was that age. And I said, well, if I have to get up at 4:15 in the morning to sacrifice, to work hard every day, so when I'm 40 or 45, I can bear the fruits of that hard work and discipline, I'm willing to do that. And so my life has been pretty consistent for the last 20 years. Very early riser. I work out a lot. I eat healthy. I weigh all my food. But I think it's important because without a strong body, you don't have a strong mind.
Sure.
I really believe that to be the case. And there's a lot of data that's coming out now that supports that. But
You got one vessel, right?
yeah. So I wake up early in the morning. I get some reading in the morning, and then I have my little bit of family time, and then I'm working, get a workout session in, and I work in the afternoon, and then nighttime's family time. So pretty solid routine.
I agree.
Yeah.
I'm sort of learning that new routine. Newly new dad.
Yeah.
And we were just talking about this up front. It's like 6 o'clock to 9 o'clock. That's undisputed family time. Hop back on the computer if I need to, but it's just like the mental recharge. You can be depleted from the day. You've got 1, 2, 3 hour workout. You've got your whole work day. You're up at 4 a.m. But when you come back and see your family, it can just recharge the batteries.
You have to. Yeah, you have to. You'll never meet an elderly person on their deathbed that say, if I could have just worked a little more, or if I could have made a little bit more money. They'd always talk about family. Sure. And friends and to be there. And part of the reason I sacrifice right now when I do the workouts and I stay healthy is for I've got 5 kids, as you know.
Yeah.
But my daughter's 4, and it's like I'm 45. In 20 years I'm gonna be 65, and she's gonna be hopefully maybe getting married. I want to be in good shape,
Yeah.
And I could partake in all the demons of today and do all that stuff to tear myself up, but I'm going to be a bad father then in 15, 20 years. So, yeah.
No, appreciate that perspective. I think it's important to hear. And you gotta take care of yourself first. It's like when you get on the airplane, right? And they're going through the whole safety procedure and they're talking about the oxygen mask. It's like, hey, you got to put your oxygen mask on first before you help others.
That's right.
Because how can you help others if your cup's not full?
100%. Yeah.
So.
And back to discipline, they say you don't rise to the level of your expectations. You fall to the level of your training.
Sure.
And just see it happen all the time. And so you'll see fad diets. You'll see people that go on these, they'll stop drinking, they'll start working out, they'll start doing things when they're very short-lived, and then they go back to their routine.
Yeah.
So you just have to change your routine. You have to make a commitment to your life and to your family. This is the kind of person I'm going to be. This is the output that I want in the world, and you got to live it every day. Yeah. And then if you make that decision in your mind, it's no longer about, you don't have to overcome it anymore. It's I don't ever like, God, I just want to stop working out. No, that's part of my life. Or, I'm not going to cold plunge, or I'm not going to do the sauna, or I'm not going to eat healthy. It's just part of my life. Just like you get up and you go to sleep, you spend time with family, like it's just part of my life.
Yeah.
And it will always be. Yeah.
Every day, non-negotiable, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And you start today, not tomorrow.
That's right. Yeah, really. I'm gonna wait until January 1st to, start living a clean life or whatever it might happen to be.
Yeah.
And I'm not advocating for people to spend 2-3 hours in the gym every day, but a portion of it to be healthy.
But I mean, even if you did like 15 minutes, at least you can check it off the list.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, thanks for that perspective.
Yeah.
Kind of a follow-up to that, which I think is important, but how did those early experiences that you briefly touched on in your 1 minute, how did those and your early experiences with subcontracting and whatnot, how did those shape your approach to running a successful company?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it is, I've always been an industrious kid. I didn't author my DNA. I won't go too deep down that path, but there was something innate inside of me when my mom was addicted to drugs, her brother's addicted to drugs, her older sister passed away, heroin, but her younger sister was a district attorney in California, prosecuting sex crimes. Yeah. And so when I vividly remember being 5-6 years old, going asking my mom, like, what you're doing, running from the cops and stuff seems chaotic. Why don't you just do what my Aunt Vicky's doing, which is, like, that just seems like an easier path. And so ever since I was young and I was a kid, I always desired not to have that type of chaos in my life. And
sure.
And so when I got, when I turned 18 or 17 really, and I got out of the house and I found this roofing business, it was the sky's the limit. It's right. I'm not being told what to do every day. I have an opportunity to go out, and there's hundreds of thousands of customers in my community. So the harder I work, the better, the more that I got in return. And then I just learned by trial and error early on. I would just try to outwork everybody because I wasn't the smartest guy in the room. Didn't go to college. I had no business expertise and had no coaching from a father or, a parent.
Yeah.
And so I was birthed into the world in this kind of crazy environment with no coaching. And so I learned a lot through trial and error. And it was tough early on, but I learned from my mistakes and I tried to solve them and then move on. So that's what I did.
Wow, that's really really impactful. And looking back 20 years ago, what advice would you give yourself in that scenario where you had to learn through trial and error, which I appreciate, being a second generation leader, being able to learn from what you and others have gone through is very much appreciated. But looking back at that point in your life, what advice would you give to yourself about leadership and about building that business? If you could go in that time machine and
very, very simple. Read more. I would have told myself early on, there's only two ways you learn in this world. You learn through trial and error, your own mistakes. You learn from them, you improve upon them, or you learn from other people's mistakes. And oftentimes that happens when you read and people are telling about their lives and about their practices and their business or whatever it might happen to be. I didn't start really reading a lot until my late 20s, early 30s. And there was a marked improvement in my ability to lead and my ability to run an ever more successful business. Before that, all the mistakes I made, my team bore the brunt of those, and it's sad, I would say, for folks who run sizable businesses. If you're not working to improve yourself, your managerial or your leadership skills, the people who are really paying the price of that is the people who report to you and the people you manage. And so it's incumbent. I think it's incumbent upon people, if they want to stay in a leadership position, to continue to improve themselves every single day, so that they can provide flourishing for the people who, get up every morning and go to work for them. Yeah. And so that's the way I think about it now. I spend a lot of time trying to develop myself as a person, and I'm far from perfect and make a lot of mistakes, but I try to improve myself every day because we got 1,100 employees now.
Yeah. Isn't that insane, guys?
Yeah.
It's 1,100 of us.
Yeah. And I remember my first employee. So,
Yeah.
it doesn't seem that long ago. So.
Yeah, the weeks fly, the days, weeks, years, they've really started flying, and being part of this rocket ship has been insane.
Especially here. You guys are crushing it.
Oh, I mean.
And under your leadership.
I was talking about this with Tom yesterday, and we were lucky enough to have him hop on the pod. And, at the time of acquisition, we were doing pretty well. I think that's why you guys partnered with us.
Mm-hmm.
And when we partnered with IHS, we were, I'd say, a sizable regional company. And, since then, we've more than doubled our revenue, the amount of projects we're doing,
Mm-hmm.
the customers that we're taking out of harm's way, able to provide a fantastic service for, the tech stack we're using is better than ever. The processes that we have are better than ever. Yeah, so IHS, started with just a few brands, yours being the first one.
Mm-hmm.
I think we were the fifth. Now we're at 25.
Incredible.
Yeah, incredible what's happened. But where do you see it going from here?
Yeah, I love it. To the moon, right, or to Mars, whenever that happens. Yeah, 2005, I met a very sweet lady named Betty who would absolutely change my life. I was a subcontractor. I was paid to do a job, and found out that she had been absolutely taken advantage of. I mean, I took most of her life savings to do a small little ranch house. I was beside myself with anger. I called my wife and I quit my job. I quit the job working for them. I told them they were pieces of shit, and that I threatened to kick their ass. I'm going to be honest, because I was not happy that existed. And that day really was the beginning of IHS. And I called my wife and decided to put every penny I had into a full-page Yellow Page ad in 2005, and I coined my vision statement in the truck, in my 1982 Chevy pickup truck at the time, which was at the time to rid the world of unscrupulous contractors.
Now
we're saving our communities from unscrupulous contractors. And I decided to dedicate my life to building a business predicated on honesty, transparency, and fair pricing. That has not changed. I put my head on my pillow every night thinking tomorrow I'm going to take more customers out of harm's way, and I will not sleep well at night until every single unscrupulous contractor is eradicated from our space. So I want to uplift the professionalism and the trust in this industry. And I want to do it through my brands, but I want to do it holistically through the whole industry. So it's quite disgusting. You can read in Roofing Contractor magazine story after story, news articles all the time about some oftentimes old person being absolutely taken advantage of by a contractor, and it makes me today still sick to my stomach when I read those articles. So that means I gotta work harder. We have to work harder. You got to work harder, so that we can take hundreds of thousands of people out of harm's way. And so then when anybody in the country says, I want to have a high quality roof siding and window put on, and I can have peace of mind on the installation, it's going to be an IHS company.
1,000%.
Yeah.
We've been installing peace of mind since 1986. That's been our mission statement since even before IHS, and it's just so fitting that it aligned so perfectly when we came together and put together the vision, mission, and core values.
Yep.
We operate with integrity, hard work, and service. We're saving our communities from unscrupulous contractors. That's our vision, and installing peace of mind every day. And that's what we wake up every single day and come to work to do. And we were just talking about it up front, story after story where we have to either come back through and help a homeowner that's already been taken advantage of, which that hurts even, honestly, I feel like that hurts more.
Yeah.
Because it's like you miss that opportunity for them not to have to go through that pain.
Mm-hmm.
And it puts a bad name on the industry.
Yep.
But I know that you've done a few speaking engagements over the past 6 months where you've spoken to our community, contracting community, about these things, about leadership, about taking care of the customer, always putting the customer first, operating with integrity, hard work, and service, giving that great customer experience where they get the fair pricing. They have somebody that has a mastery of the building envelope coming out. And,
that's right.
And really assessing their needs and only giving them a proposal for what they need, what
that's
they
exactly
want.
Right. Yeah.
I think it's just so important. So yeah, just wanted to mention that.
Yeah, awesome.
I got an interesting one here for you, but for the second generation leaders or people that are up and coming in their businesses, that are either stepping up into a bigger leadership role or just starting out a business and they're trying to follow your values and what you believe in, what advice would you offer to them for managing either an existing business's legacy or starting a business? Like, what advice would you give them to really step in that leadership role?
Yeah, we talk about building high performance teams. Purpose, trust, and clarity are three words that I use to describe that. I think that if you want to start a business, or frankly, like in your position, Nick, where you're a second gen leader coming in, running a business, you want to establish a North Star, a reason for people to get up out of bed, a purpose that's bigger than yourself, oftentimes bigger than what you're doing every single day, something that people can aspire to.
Sure.
Ours obviously is to save our communities from unscrupulous contractors. That's a big vision. There's a lot of communities and a lot of contractors.
Yeah.
But it gives people a North Star. When someone comes to work here at American Home Contractors, they go, hey, my work that I'm doing matters. Like, I'm actually going out there and I'm helping homeowners navigate a pretty unscrupulous industry, and we're doing good work. Second is you have to establish trust in your team. Trust is earned.
Yeah.
A lot of times people think trust is like this kind of frou-frou thing where you just pat people on the head and be nice to them, and that's trust. That's not trust. Trust is about also holding people accountable, setting a standard in the organization that you're going to ask people to abide by, and then holding people accountable to that. And then it's providing clarity in the organization, role clarity on what your expectations of people are, but also clarity in how you're going to operate the business and where you're going long term.
Sure.
So with those three kind of fundamental branches, you're going to have a good start. I think every business, we have our triad, which is our people, customers, and prosperity. Every business has people, and as a leader in an organization, it's your responsibility to up-level those people.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're on a path to grow in their career, give them opportunity, and this is why I said reading and building yourself up as well. You have to take care of your customers, developing good processes, having a good mousetrap, running an efficient, lean organization, and then it's about making some money. So obviously
Sure.
You have to make money to stay in business, and so you balance those three things, and you get up early, you work hard, you stay disciplined, and you'll be successful.
So Josh, for any companies, any contractors thinking of joining the IHS family, what does that future look like for them? And how do you see things kind of evolving over the next few years?
Well, look, anybody who finds our story compelling, who wakes up every day and wants to up-level this industry, wants to take part in a greater mission, which is to save our communities from unscrupulous contractors, think that they could take advantage of additional resources that we might be able to offer when it comes to marketing, operations, sales, all the things that you and I and teams talk about, and the things that have helped elevate American Home Contractors to where they are today, where you guys are today. That's who we're looking for. We're looking for good partners. We're looking for entrepreneurs who have built a good business. They care about their customers. They care about their people fundamentally. Because we're not a platform that comes in and just kind of eradicates and plugs in our process
Sure.
to the brands, and you know that better than anybody else.
Yeah.
We are a value add to organizations. We help provide clarity in their operations. We help provide leadership. We help provide support in marketing and procurement. But really, we are just we're a band of 25 awesome companies across the country and in Canada. That they wake up every day with that same mission, and so if you've got that mission in mind, you want to be part of something greater. That's what we're doing.
Totally agree.
Yeah.
Happy to be on board. Thankful to be a part of this platform. It's opened up so many doors for the people here, and we're only sky's the limit, right?
Yeah, exactly.
We've got this awesome, beautiful new space, and just appreciate having you come down to check us out and hop on the pod. So thank you so much for your time today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, brother.
Thank you.